We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.
Welcome to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. It is the final show of the year. New Year's is upon us, and we've got a great show for you guys. We're going to check in with Horse Trailer Pros, and we'll be right back.
Want to advertise on the John and Rick Show? Contact John at 352-875-8622.
Or call Rick at 850-879-2649.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We are in the studio, John, our 24th episode, our 6th season. It's coming to an end. And we had to bring the sire of Briggs Surratt on the show because
Why do you need to be here?
Why do I need to be here?
Yes.
You're going to rub it in a little bit?
A little bit.
We had a little bet in the Lions-Packers game that if the Lions won, Mr. Holling would have had to eat a hot dog with ketchup on it.
which is terrible.
Which is against all Wisconsin code.
Yeah, well, just adulthood.
If the Packers won, I had to eat the worst vegetable ever created, Brussels sprouts, and the Packers won. And there was video of the Brussels sprouts, which I almost
We still have
gagged.
that video. We'll see. Maybe we can play that video.
And
we need
so,
to play the video. Yeah.
That was how that all came. And
But
now
I'm going to interject. The worst Brussels sprouts.
They were bad Brussels sprouts.
So bad.
I love Brussels sprouts.
all
I love
Brussels
them
sprouts
too.
are bad.
Anyway, so go ahead.
But anyway, to finish up the bet, this was a little add-on. I have to
I'm making notes.
I like this.
wear a cheese head. Say goodbye, Lion's hat.
Yep. Yep. Look at that. You look good, honestly. You look like, to be fair, that's the same face I was making last night when the Packers were playing the Ravens. That is the exact
You want to see the face I saw when the Packers lost last night?
I'm sure it was more like that.
More like this. So here we are. Next year, same kind of bet. He might have to wear a Barry Sanders jersey next year.
I would wear Barry. I would
Good.
wear Barry.
You just get to sit here
You're a
now
good
with your-
sport, so now you
gotta
can hang out and just wear that cheese head.
You got to wait.
Okay.
By the way, everybody, you'll notice the elf ear on this side. Please, everybody, the sun in Florida is really bad. Please get everything checked. He was lucky.
Yes.
Got his cut off.
That's what this is.
John
Yeah.
got his done.
Yep, so
It's not a joke. Go.
No, it's
go
something
get
you
checked
need to
out.
get checked.
All right.
Every year I go in and
So
get stuff
I
done.
got some notes.
Okay. I thought
First
this
off,
was for David, but this is for...
no, this is for you.
Okay.
So as we get ready for David O'Connor,
Yes.
who has represented the United States on many teams,
A lot.
was a Canadian coach, was a U.S. coach, was the president of the USEF,
Yep.
and is very involved as a staff person now.
Yep.
He's coming on soon. My question to you, how do you feel about David O'Connor?
Like...
No, it's not a trick question.
Okay. I think
How
David
do
O'Connor...
you feel about David O'Connor?
I love David O'Connor. He
That-
is a legend. He is
Check.
a very good friend of mine.
Check.
He is an incredible horseman
Check.
and generally a great human being. His only flaw is he loves Diet Coke,
Okay.
honestly.
Is that it?
Yeah, well, and he has this thing against hackamores, but other than that,
Okay. Well,
Diet Coke and
let's get
Hackenbergs.
into this. So to be fair, David is an incredible human being.
Yes, Hall of Famer too, by the way.
Hall of Famer, represented us in many Olympics, World Championships,
Yeah.
I believe, Pan Am
Yes.
Games.
Won the gold medal in Sydney.
Married to Karen O'Connor.
Yep.
Has been a part of the FEI, the USEF,
He's the chairman
the
of the
USEA.
eventing committee.
I think we're coming into the realm where we're going to talk to David about, I think to me, my opinion is, this is going along the lines of all sports, and that's why I'm glad I have Andy here.
Yep.
I don't think we have a systemic, sorry for my teeth, systemic issue with abuse. I think we have a foundational issue with training.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of saying it.
And I think that doesn't just translate to horses, but Andy, when it comes to human athletes over the last 30 years, have we changed our way
Should
of
we
training?
give people some perspective as to
Yeah,
these
let's talk.
qualifications?
Yeah, exactly. Let's go ahead.
I've been coaching soccer for 20 plus years on high school level and youth level. Things have
Talk about FSU.
Oh
You?
well, and then FSU football I work with in the media or radio broadcast area. So yes, if that's a big general question, yes, things have changed, and I don't know if it's for the good
Right.
or if it's really for the bad. I would say more to the latter. We had some things we had to change in sports
Right, for humans.
for humans, and there's got to be something there in the middle to make everything better. I think I'm both, because I have a son, and I know you guys, and there's a lot of silly rules
Right.
in human sports, and by what I can see, there are a few silly rules in your sport.
But don't you think that's the same? And I think
But that's
I
in
agree.
general. You could challenge me on it, and I couldn't tell you which
no,
rule
it's
it
good.
is, but I'm just saying
I-
observation-wise.
I think that's fair, and my thought on it is this: when you watch television and their talking heads are talking about politics, they're extreme on this side, they're extreme on this side. When I sit down with my friends and discuss politics, even if we're coming at it from different sides, I find 9 times out of 10 we agree on far more than we disagree. And I think that's the same problem in sports is you get the talking heads, which I guess in this case are us, but all of the people involved in different sports talking about it, and they get extreme because it's an easy thing to do. You can get on your soapbox, that's what they have, right?
Correct.
And yet I believe what we'll discover when we talk with David is like actually there's reasonable things that we can do and are trying to do, and some extreme stuff and ridiculous rules, or maybe not ridiculous, but extreme rules come out of it where they really shouldn't.
Right.
But I think we all kind of agree at the same time that that's him right now. That we all agree that we want some change. It just shouldn't be so ridiculous.
So I think what we should do is end this one up, have David come in,
Yes.
and then we're going to pick it up.
Yeah, because this is him. Right
I
here.
know. Hey,
Andy,
David.
you look great, and
Yeah.
I want you to know it was hard to take you seriously in that hat, but you did a great job.
But that's okay. I want to see if David will wear it.
I think I had him wear it last year.
Maybe you did.
I'll see if we can get him.
We're going to have David O'Connor on next, everybody. Listen to our great sponsors, and we'll be right back with David.
Boom.
EquiBrew, now available in the USA. It's a live probiotic that you feed daily to your horses. The live microbes go into your horse's gut and cleans up the gut wall, creating a healthy gut system.
EquiBrew is an essential part of my feeding program. My horses love to eat it, and it does a really good job of promoting gut health and also good behavior and great performances.
It's something I recommend for all of your horses, no matter what they do in their careers.
It's so affordable, I can use it on all of my horses in the barn, not just my top horses.
Order EquiBrew today by going to brickfieldnutrition.com or calling 850-879-2649.
If you're in the horse world, you need to have a good lawyer. Whatever the size of your business, having the best legal support is paramount. Rick and I use our friend and attorney, Yvonne Okrant. She's a partner at Hinshaw & Culberson LLP, which is a national law firm with over 450 attorneys. She's been at this for over 24 years and is licensed in Illinois, Florida, and Wisconsin. Yvonne can help you with contracts for horse purchases, sales and leases, as well as equine activity liability, releases, and training and boarding contracts for individuals and entities. If you need help with a syndicate, she's done over 350 contracts and operating agreements for sport horses in all 3 disciplines. Whatever your legal need is, Yvonne can assist you. Call her at 312-704-3080 or email at yokrant@hinshawlaw.com. So we just told you all about Yvonne Okrant and wanted to just remind you guys to give her a call if you have any legal needs involving anything in the equine industry. Make sure you use the promo code HORSELAW. That's going to get you a free initial consultation. Again, remember that promo code HORSELAW. You're going to love Yvonne.
Grant Showalter has over 15 years of equine bodywork and saddle fitting experience. His technique allows him to identify and alleviate tightness in muscles. He uses trigger point massage to release points of restriction. Grant has over a decade of experience fitting and adjusting a wide variety of saddles. His expertise in equine physiology, coupled with a thorough understanding of the importance of a properly fitted saddle, allows him to quickly identify and correct any balance issues. Grant can also adjust your saddle on site. Grant works on all of my competition horses, and I have noticed a significant improvement in their performance at competitions and their overall way of going. Grant's based in Ocala, Florida year-round, but regularly travels to the surrounding areas. For more information or to schedule an appointment, call 484-639-4454.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, brought to you by Horse Trailer Pros. We're super excited. We've got David here. Thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me. That was great.
Actually, he comes to this show
pretty much every year.
This
This is your episode.
I think I've done the Christmas thing. Put the sweater on and all that kind of stuff.
We did that.
Yeah.
Last year we did it at the annual meeting.
Yep. Last year we did the annual meeting.
So this is the EquiBrew segment. EquiBrew is a great live probiotic. It is made in New Zealand. I have it here in my hot little hand, and it is great. All of my horses are on it. You just pour it over their feed, and they love it, and Rick's going to tell us a little more about it.
Just go to brickfieldnutrition.com. You can order it on Shopify. Again, it's a live microbe that goes into the gut system. Hagyard and Park Equine are true believers in it. A lot of people believe that powdered probiotics are working, and they're not. So this has the live probiotic in it with the microbes, and we are seeing huge differences in horses across the country right now. So it's a great product.
Cool.
So before we get into all of the hot topic, recent stuff, one thing I want to make sure we get in here, because it's why, other than...
Wait, I got to make some notes.
Okay, you make some notes.
Hot topic.
Hot topics.
Well, we are in Florida. So
Exactly. Under 21 camp is happening.
Yeah.
So
I'm
that's
excited.
I know that's not why you're here, but it's part of why you're here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. It's a great program that we started. I think this is our 5th year. I think it's our 5th year.
Right.
So, so we're having a camp, the national camp, which is here in Ocala this year. We've had it twice. We do two times on the East Coast, one on the West Coast.
Right.
And it's a great program, and it's kind of multi-layered. So it is, there's actually a coach development part of it. There's also, from the riding kid part of it. I know I'm not supposed to call them kids, but I call them kids anyway. I'm going to do an age. That's it.
I think that's fair.
So, so the regional camps. There's regional camps that every area selects their own people to go to that camp, and we have 5 of them through the country, and we have coaches that go out there. And those coaches, we have meetings throughout the year talking about syllabus, because we want the syllabus to be the same. The styles of the coaching can be different, but what they're teaching has got to be very consistent, because we really believe that at that level. And so those 12 kids in each one of those regions, 2 on the East Coast, 1 in the middle, and 2 on the West Coast. And then the coaches of those systems pick who their top ones are out of that system. So no selection committee, just the coach says, all right, I think these 3 kids or these 2 kids are, and those are the ones that then come to a 5-day national camp that we do here. And when we do it here, we have lectures, we have veterinary stuff, we have blacksmith come in, we have horsemanship stuff, plus the riding thing. So it has a touch in the nation for about 60 kids, which is great, to get, ideologies out there. And then I've seen, certainly on the national camp side, the level of riding over the last, this is our 5th one, I think, has dramatically increased, which is exciting
that
for
is.
that age.
Yep.
And they understand the theory of it. I mean, I have my things about how people learn sports. But so they understand that side of it and get to talk about horses and also just talk about the technical side of it. So it's an exciting, I love it, actually. I absolutely fully love it. And then those coaches, it's kind of a coach development program. They all come to the national camp. And
that's what I was just going to ask. So you're all coaching.
So, well, I'm the main coach for this one.
Right.
But we do switch off, like Rebecca Brown does a great lecture on just business. How do you run a business? What does your life look like if you want to get into this world?
Right.
But we're all together about it, right? And I think that you're always trying to look to get replaced.
Yep.
No matter what role you're in, you're looking to about who's going to replace you and try to.
Not me. I like to try to cling on as long as possible.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So.
That's from Star Trek.
I think that's a whole comment that I probably shouldn't go into.
It's a whole nother podcast.
Where's it being held?
It's at Sweet Dixie, right? They donate the facility to us.
That's
it's
awesome.
Great.
Mike Campbell.
Yep, and it's a fantastic facility. They really opened.
Was that your helicopter that we saw this weekend there?
Absolutely. No, mine is about this big. It has little two things go around like that.
I think it's great because I think one of it, I'm interested in your thoughts on this, one of the big things that I think is missing, and we've tried when I was at USCGEF, we talked about it a lot, of trying to figure out young riders and the championships and how to make that work again. And I don't think to this point we have figured that out. But this is something that I've noticed the kids really strive for.
Absolutely.
They want to do.
Gives them a goal.
Yeah.
And yes, it's shown that. And like I said, I think that's driven the quality of it, which is great. And it also, by the time, not all of them are going to end up staying in horses. Not all of them are going to stay in eventing. Not all of them are going to ride for a team in the future. But there's going to be one or two out of that are going to go full on. And by the time they get up into the next levels of the programs, they would have understood a language. They would have understood a thought process. And so hopefully the feeder system into the next developing sides and all that kind of stuff, that they're starting from a stronger place from the beginning to see where they go in the end.
Yeah, well, and I think we've always felt in our program on a different level that the kids who stick with it and want to do this as a career, that's great. But there's actually, and I know it's maybe not USEA's mission on this, but there's a huge benefit to showing kids what it is and having them realize, oh, this isn't for me. I love horses and I want to do it at this level, not this level.
Well, it's the typical thing that happens, and Pony Club talks about this, and everybody talks about this. That you come in and the kids are involved, and and these kids have obviously earned this, so it's not just given to them.
Right.
They've earned this, so there's a different level of engagement there. But in the end, a lot of them leave.
Right.
They'll leave the sport and they'll go out and they'll have careers, but we find that the number is very high that they come back.
Right.
And they come back when they're in their 40s. And then they want to play the game, right? They just want to, but if you don't invest here, you never have something to come back to. So, and they'll go off and have lives and businesses and families and whatever, and then they come back sport and they want to play again. And I think you just have to accept that is part of the game. Not everybody of these 12 kids is going to ride for the team.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
But we create also at the same time, we create these fans.
Right.
That are following the sport, that are going to follow you, or they're going to follow whoever in the sport because they're going to follow it their whole lives.
Right.
And then they come back to it when they have the time and the inclination. So and it's a very steady process. Everybody talks about how many people we lose in the sport, but actually, if you look at them, 30, 40 years later, they come back.
Right.
And that rotation is a constant part of the sports.
Which is super
like all
important.
sports, I think.
Exactly. And I think in the world today and the topics across the board, whether it's politics, football, soccer, equestrian sports, I think we're all starting to have more communication about different approaches.
Sure.
I think the young people, I used to complain that social media was killing our young people because they were off in a different world, but I think it's swinging around, not in, I don't know if it's a good way or a bad way, but we're all talking about welfare for horses. We're talking about proper horsemanship. We're talking about what you should do on a daily basis. And I think they're reading that. And I think that's helping in that column to have the riders that you have today know more than maybe the riders that knew 5 years ago.
Oh yeah, and we talk about, I mean, that is part of the lecture series. We'll talk about that. I always open up to, of the lectures, we do lectures in the morning and one at lunch and during the week. And the last two that we have at the end of the week are up to them. What do they want to talk about?
Well, that's cool.
And then, you know, and then there's 5, 6 of us, so they're, you know, everybody has different experiences. You know, a lot of that would be about social media or how it's coming up and how do you use it. But in the end, you know, I'm a big believer that, you know, sunshine is always a better thing in the end, right? So, you know, putting light on weaknesses of our sport ends up being better.
Right.
You know, I happen to believe that the horses win in the end when we do that. So that's always got to be a benefit. You know, it's just, it can get so angry, which is disappointing.
Right.
But and people, and especially kids, that's hard on them. I think people get angry. People have been getting angry at me for 50 years, so I really don't. You know,
I've been angry at you a few times.
John's been angry at me for 30. So we have this relationship. You know where that level is.
Right.
And sometimes on the social media stuff, when that happens, they don't really know where that level is.
Right.
So they do take it personally instead of professionally.
Right.
So.
But David, on your side, and we've all had conversations with you over the years about different things.
I've been here around for a long time.
A long time. But what is so great about you, though, is you are open to conversation.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're open to listening and discussing.
Yeah.
You know, that's the difference. That's why you're a good leader for us. And that's why you're good for the kids, because opening the conversation, whether, I mean, he threw hackamores out there at you, right?
He's still wrong on that.
I understand your reasoning for a hackamore on cross country. Should it break, you don't have any control, you need something else, right? I get that. We have
From a person that rides bridleless.
Right, I know.
Right?
For
I mean,
a
that's the
person
thing
that
about
does
it.
ride
From
bridleless.
a person that rides bridleless.
Exactly, but you still,
Right.
you know, not all of us ride bridleless.
Right, sure.
I showed him a video today of me swinging around in my chicaner stallion. I went all the way around the saddle.
Yeah.
Because you're crazy. I was like, well, I mean, he's a good horse.
Yeah, that's what they. Yeah.
I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah,
But the whole conversation, I think, is really great. What you're doing with the 21 and unders, and for me, I've been in the sport for a very long time, and I think it's taken Briggs and Elisa and everybody else to me to really understand, from the farrier to the vet to your daily exercise to what you're doing with your physio. There's not a day that doesn't go by that you're not thinking about what's the best thing for your horse.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of what you're promoting.
Yeah. I mean, you keep pulling, you know, and, you know, I'm a teacher that tries to, as much as I pull information out of people so you get where they're thinking, and then you're like, all right, well, let's go here first, because it feels like they need that first before they can do that. You know. And I think that's an important part of to meet them where they are. And then, you know, if you think about learning sports, any sport, not just riding, when I think this is one of the things I've been trying to get across is to make sure that we don't think about riding as so separate that we actually don't learn from the other sports and how they teach sports. Right? How do you teach a kid sport? How do you teach him soccer? How do you teach him football? How do you teach him baseball? You know, how do you hold the bat? How do you hold a golf club? And that's part of where we have to do. We have to make sure. Then we have this added part that there's another personality involved. And understanding how we learn, how people learn, as much as how horses learn, is an important part, especially at this age, about how people digest information and how they can apply it to their level. Meet them where they are first, instead of, you know, just as an analogy, if you talk about like there's 15 steps, I'm not saying there are 15 steps, but if there are 15 steps and they're on step 3, there is no reason to be talking about 12.
Right.
Yep.
You got to
They can't get it.
You can't
so
get
why
there
are you
yet.
talking to them like that? Talk to them about 3 and 4.
Right.
And then possibly a little 5. This is where you're going, right? And then they get those skills, and then you go on, and then it goes on, and they feel confident, they feel secure in themselves, and that's the direction to go. That's what I believe.
I totally agree.
Which is why when David teaches me, he's like, let's just trot.
Go to 2.
Let's just trot, John. I'm feeling like that's where we should go today.
Just the trot.
Well, it's fun enough. I have this, kind of theory of teaching. Like, first part is teach the technique, and then you teach the theory, and that leads to instinct.
Right.
Right. And so when you lead to those, and that's where most of those people drop off.
Sure.
The people that are not studying it
Yeah.
full time. And then to me, there's intuition, and then there's imagination. And fun enough, when you get an imagination and you get on that side, the more you actually just go back and work on these simple basics.
Right. Look, that was a
All the
really
time.
roundabout way of him saying something nice. I appreciate it.
No, it's
That you're
What he was
basic?
saying was, in your imagination, you're pretty good.
No, I think it's really important that you realize where people are again,
Yeah,
and meet them
totally.
where they are, so that they can. And then, if if you have a bigger picture, you can take them on the journey with you.
So before you do your thing, because I know what you want to get into, I think the first thing we need to do, and we talked about it a little last year, but people ask me this a lot. And I mean this sincerely. It's going to sound like I'm poking fun of you, but I'm not.
But he is.
No, but I'm not. We know you are the chairman of the FEI eventing committee. What is your job at USEF?
It's called Chief of Sport. And
Okay.
it's basically more of a strategic job of looking at all sports.
Okay.
So it's not eventing at all.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
It's
all.
not
It's
eventing
one of
more
the
than
sports,
anything
not
else.
a specific. So it's really talking about, are the sports going in the direction that it's going to lead to, one, competitive excellence, growth of the sport, health of the sport, top to bottom, and not just what the high performance guys are doing. So it's about looking at that, and then having the ability to take horse sports and say, all right, how do we think about this a little bit different, and how do we promote it? What can we promote? What's saleable? What's entertaining? Because there's a lot of classes. I'm going to watch a class. I can't really put it on TV because nobody really kind of understands it. But if there's an outcome quick, and that's where the U.S. Open came from.
Right. Okay.
Right. We kind of came out of that with looking at golf. And then putting it here, this was the first year of the U.S. Open in all 3 different disciplines. It had an effect because it was a series that people could track instead of just a final.
Yep.
I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, it
and
seemed
so-
like it went really well.
And it went really well, and it created some things. It created opportunities to put horses out on television, and all that, because you can think about the Olympic Games. It's great, the Olympic Games. I mean, they're obviously quite amazing, and it's a fantastic platform to be on to put horses out in that world, but it's a one-off thing.
Right.
So how do we create fans that can follow something along? And that's where the concept of the U.S. Open, it took us 2.5 years to get it off the ground, and this was our first year of being off the ground, and we're quite excited about it.
And it seems like it's been a huge success in eventing. Like Morven was
Sure.
a great final, and people are excited about it. And the podcast that they have for that,
the
which I'm
right.
assuming is through, USEF.
Yep.
and that, right?
With our partnership with Echo Ratings.
Right. That's so cool.
Sure. Dee is really taking that on.
Yeah, it's been great. I got to go on it last month, and it was super. It was fun. Do they do that for the other 2 disciplines as well? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's
they
same
have
thing with
different
show
people.
jumping, same thing dressage. Dressage is about the freestyle, so it's a freestyle series that leads to a final. And show jumping is one of the questions we ask is like, if you were going to have a career, you walked away in your 60s and you had a career in show jumping, what event in the United States would you have to have on your resume?
Right.
Right?
You're asking me this?
Sure.
Kentucky.
No, let's say show jumping.
Oh, show jumping. What would show jump? I don't know, actually.
Exactly. So, like you would say internationally, you'd say Aachen,
Right, yep.
or Dublin, or
Yep.
places like that, but nothing in the United States.
That's it.
There's not one weekend that stands out. That is the Masters or
Okay.
our U.S. Open. So that's what we've tried to create, and
Okay.
now it is that weekend down in WEF that it's obviously show jumping is a huge amount of money, so it's a big, huge class, well sponsored. But it is becoming the weekend that in the United States, that's the one you're going to want to have on your resume.
I hadn't really thought about that.
That's what we try to
That's
create.
cool. Very cool. Do we want to take a break and then
Sure.
you get into it? With
No,
the-
yeah, I think we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do. So one thing which we've been terrible about on this
Yeah.
podcast is we need to remind everybody who watches this and listens to this, you need to go on YouTube and hit the like button.
Right.
We need you guys to comment for sure, which you've all been awesome about. We need to get a little competition going on that again because that helped last time. People are competitive. But if you guys can do us a favor, if you're listening to this on your podcast player, just zip on over to YouTube, hit play, and then you don't have to watch, just leave, but let it run. Let it run.
No, but
also hit like.
And also share.
And share it. But any of that stuff you guys can do would really help the podcast a lot. We're doing great. We've got almost 38,000 subscribers on YouTube.
That's great.
Yeah, it's
Touting
super.
number one.
It's needed. I mean, I think podcasts like this are really, really needed.
Well, and
We
there's
talk
so
about
many
all
good
things.
ones now.
Absolutely. So
They're great.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, thank you, and it's because people like you come on, which is what makes it. So we appreciate
I'm
you.
excited to be here.
So if you guys can do that for us, just hit like, give us a rating on your YouTube players, and that'll help us out.
Yeah. Again, Shopify, that's brickfieldnutrition.com. Go on, buy it for your horse. And let me tell you, everybody, if you doubt it and you have a stomach ache, it is food grade. Take a shot glass.
It does work.
It does work. I'm telling you, take a
need
shot
little
glass.
chaser.
Take a shot of it. You're going to feel better. Mom, do I make you take this every morning? Do I make you take this every morning?
Yes.
Okay.
And look at her. She looks great.
I know. She's 90. She looks beautiful. It's all because of Equibreath.
Not yet.
Okay, in September.
All right. So thank you guys. We're going to just take a brief break, and we'll be back with Mr. O'Connor.
For a horse owner on the road, your trailer is essential. No one enjoys being stuck on the road. At Horse Trailer Pros, we repair, renovate, and maintain all makes and models of horse trailers. We work directly with your insurance company or manufacturer for warranty repairs and insurance claims. Our state-of-the-art facility provides quick turnaround and friendly customer service. Considering a living quarter conversion? We do those too. Find comfort on the road with Horse Trailer Pros. Call or text 352-804-2131. HorseTrailerPros.com.
Since 1950, Maison Forestier has been offering its know-how to design custom-made saddles for passionate riders. In 2016, Maison Forestier took a turn and expanded into the sports world with the goal of improving the performance of the rider-horse pair. You will find a professional, reactive, and fun team to answer your needs. And this is why I have chosen Forestier for all of my saddlery needs. Feel free to contact the saddle expert in your area for more information by visiting www.forestier.com.
Welcome back to the John and Rick Show, the last episode of 2025, David.
Year end.
It's amazing.
Year end.
24 episodes, John, and season.
We'll be starting season 7.
I know. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Always good.
David
always
O'Connor, everybody should know him. We are glad to know you. You represented us in 2 games, Olympic Games, correct?
Yep.
Gold medal in one of them. Mm-hmm. I think you won a silver at the Worlds.
Yeah, the 3-time medalists. I have one of each, right? So
One of
I have
each.
one of each color.
Really cool.
Do you alternate which day you wear each one?
We're talking about using them as coasters.
That'd be awesome.
Wouldn't that just be so obnoxious?
I know, it'd be great.
It could be
They're
really
actually up
great.
at the Federation right now. They're and they've asked if they could put them on display, so they're on.
Oh, that's cool.
Without really my name on them, but just the Olympic medals in the foyer.
So I'd like
that's
to
really
also
great.
say, David's has a birthday soon.
Oh yeah.
January 18th, 19, not going to say 60 something,
Yep. Early 60s.
early 60s. Mine's January 8th,
All right.
January 15th. So we're all together. So, happy birthday early.
Thank you. We had that in the office. There's 3 or 4 of us in the executive group that are all
January?
within this. But yeah,
Capricorn.
all Capricorns.
Yeah.
So
That's why we get along.
we call it the goat herd.
It's what we are. So we've been having a lot of stuff in our sport as we've been leading up to. And I know Mike Winter is actually working on some things for federations. I think my concern has always come down to, I think we do have a philosophy in training that we need to bring forward that's better than the ones we used to have. That things that we thought was proper aren't proper today. And not that it's just not today, it's just probably wasn't really proper. But when we get into the welfare and abuse of horses, I think we have a different, my opinion is it's different than our foundation of training back 25, 30 years ago. Wasn't based on abuse of a horse. It might have led to further abuse of a horse. But I think the problems that we have been having have been very pinpointed issues that we have had with the welfare of the horse. And so my point is, I think it's great that we're redirecting how and what we do with a horse in mind and body, but I don't think we should say it's systemic to the welfare of the horse, that the abuse that has happened is because of what happened in the past.
Yeah, I would look at it as that the sport, this isn't our sport. I mean, the sport really is, we're all in it for the same reasons, right? We all enjoy horses. We got into it because we, fell in love with horses early somehow through your parents, right, or on your own or whatever. But so that core value, I think, is very, very important to make sure that that's what we do. There are, it's a sport has grown. At the Olympic level, all three of the sports came out of the military, right? All three of them. I know we were the military cavalry horse one, but jumping came out of the military. It was created for that. Dressage was the military. It's where they finally put it into a box, and that's what we're going to do. So, the military had a different, little bit of an attitude about it. And also then you talk about society. The largest number of horses we had in the United States was actually in the 20s. And the number is about 23 million horses in the United States. By the time that went up to the 70s, that was almost down to 3. And now it's back up to 8 or 9. So you can say that is because of sport.
Sure.
Not despite sport in some ways, right? That horses are a big part of human society. We all know that intrinsically. I mean, right. But when you put it out there, because the hard part. And I was, watching, this time of year, you watch a lot of old movies and things like that. And you see so much that every day somebody would have seen a horse every day.
Right.
Whether you were in the town or in the country, you would have seen a horse every day. Now you have sections of society that won't see a horse ever, So, so their distance of understanding is different, right? And so they look at optically and they look at emotionally, and you're like, okay, you're right. We should make sure that we are in a place that we're promoting ourselves. And I believe that the core of all of the sports is not in any way accepts abuse of horses.
Right.
Any part of it.
Sure.
Where some of the issues go, where emotional control gets lost, and that is really the defining thing that we have to make sure. I'm a big believer in that saying. Lincoln said it. I don't know if it was his, but he said it, where violence starts, where knowledge stops. Right?
He's actually talking about wars. Good saying. Was that Lincoln?
And so with that, it's a very, very true statement, because when people lose their emotional control is when what they're doing is not working, and when they get into that place of, I don't know what to do, and now I'm going to do this just stronger. And instead of taking that moment of saying, all right, I'm going to stop, think about this. Right?
Sure.
Maybe go away and come back. Usually the situation solved itself. Mm-hmm. And come back and think about it, that there's another way. And whether that there are so many different aspects to horsemanship that is so much more readily available now. Whether you talk about anywhere from the other sports and what you learn from them and what you learn from national horsemanship and how you put it together. And starting horses is obviously something that teaches you a lot, because you're dealing with a horse that, doesn't know it, doesn't know what,
right,
and can get really worried very, very quickly. And how do you work at that? I think starting horses is a really, really educational thing for most people to have to go through, because then you do start to understand horse psychology. So when that happens, with emotional control, do you have the ability to stop, think about it? Because there is another way. There are tools. And the more tools that you have in your toolbox, and your toolbox just grows and grows and never stops growing, no matter how old you get, no matter how much you've done, you keep looking and looking to expand your toolbox, then the anger just goes away. The emotional controls, losing the emotional control, it absolutely goes away because you have an answer.
And that's a very good point of teaching that to the 21 and under.
Absolutely.
And I think in our sight of growing older, that anger subsides. Unfortunately for us, it subsided with time. For me, I found, I think John and I had a conversation. I didn't have a trainer. I grew up in the Midwest. I did barrel racing. I rode bareback. I did pole bending. I never had a trainer until Nancy Gosh when I was 18 years old.
Right.
I don't ever remember getting angry at my horse, but that doesn't mean that that's common. So I think, to your point, is trying to, anger's not going to get you there.
No, it doesn't. Just like with people. I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't help. Absolutely.
There's no difference.
Absolutely.
You know, that anger, just yelling at somebody to make it louder and slower and stuff like it doesn't make any difference until you can back up and take the emotion out of it, and then the thought process comes through. And that's where I think that phrase is so very prevalent and impactful, is that violence starts where knowledge stops, is that does, because it's very, very true, when I don't know what to do. And that can be anywhere from countries to governments to which is where it came from. Lincoln was talking about governments at that point. But it has a huge impact, I think, on what we do around.
So, sort of on that note, one thing that I've been thinking about lately, and I'm thinking even more here as you're sitting here, is I don't know if there's a solution to it or not. I'm curious your thoughts. When all of this horse welfare stuff comes forward, whether it's through Safe Sport or whatever it comes through, it seems to me that as a governing body through the FEI and USEF, I think there should be some credit given to, as a sport, we have taken these situations on, whatever they are, no specifics, but all these different situations on, which I think, I know are the exception. It is not the majority of people that do these things. And I think there should be some credit given to the associations, the federations, to say, yeah, we see this, we're taking it on, we are dealing with it. And like anything, people can agree or disagree with how they're handled, how quickly they're handled, what the punishment for different things are. But I just don't know, do you think there's a way, the problem is you can't give yourself credit for things, but I really think, look, just to be clear, I don't think that everything has been dealt with perfectly. Sure. Because it can't be, right? I just feel like when people get frustrated by this stuff and say, oh my gosh, can you believe so-and-so did this and so did that, there also should be, I believe, a side of and isn't it good that the Federation or the FEI have taken it on and now are investigating this and going to follow through and try to find it. And you're not going to find everybody immediately. It takes time to go through all this stuff. But it is, they're rare. Even as many as we've had, they're rare.
They're very rare, right? You talk about, even in the U.S., you got 364,000 starts, and you're talking about one or two cases, right?
Right.
And so I think that is rare. And then you also have to say, from a federations, and you've been involved in governance. So, in every level, there's, regional, and then there's the USEA, and then there's USEF, and then there's the FEI, which is global. So now you're looking at it from a global point. You're looking at it from a national point of view, multidiscipline. You're looking at it from your own USEA. You're looking at it from your own sport nationally, and then in your regional club, so everyone kind of opens your eyes a little bit more to, all right, this is, how do we do this? So then the question is, if we say that we do have a bit of a shift of culture from coming out of the Army system back through the 70s and I know 50s and then, but really we were taught by the Army guys all the way up until the 70s.
General Burton.
And then, and if we're talking about shifting culture, how do you do that? Yeah. Where do you start? And we decided, right for wrong, but what we decided in the USEF was the first thing was to introduce the concept of social license to operate, which is, that the public looking at it, that there is a public that looks at your endeavor, and they're not looking at it like you do and da-da-da. So that was the first step. Let that sit for a while. Went back and had some workshops and had people bring ideas up. And one of those ideas was reaching out. Could we reach out to your farm? If something happened at your farm, could somebody still get into trouble for that? The USDF's not coming on anybody's farm. I mean, they're not looking for it. But if somebody brought the video and it was proved to be right, and, okay, yeah, you could be part of the regulatory process. And so that was the next year.
Right.
And then the next year that we've done here is more about education. So we put this thing that we call the stoplight guidelines. I don't know if you guys have seen them. So that everybody, and it's literally an Americanized look at red, yellow, green, so that you can look at it and say, is everybody kind of agreeing what we're all looking for? Green, this is something, well, that's fun, that's great. The yellow is starting to make, I start to squirm.
Right.
And then red, all right, that needs to stop.
Right.
And straight across the board, from riders to trainers to officials to show management, straight across the board, can we start to agree? And that's the education part. So it's really been a 3-phase process to get to this level. And then hopefully we can go a little quieter and just keep up on the education side, because we now have rules that, if needed, could be used. And we didn't have those before.
Right.
That's why it all went to set the FEI, because we didn't have it. And the FEI had it in one word, may.
Right.
That we may at any time. Bang, that's your legal phrase. We didn't have that in the States. And so now we do. We have that thing. And there's no question, social media, right? Everybody wants them hung on Monday.
Right. Yeah.
And that happened Sunday night. And you want them hung on Monday. And that's, doesn't give due process. And I hope we always keep the due process for the rights of all that are involved to have their saying. And then there's an independent judgment of how that should happen. And that takes, unfortunately, it does take a lot of time. But you're doing it because it has to be right. Because that person always has the right, again, due process, that if a person is getting charged with something, they have that right to take it to the Center of Arbitration for Sport, a worldwide arbitrating system, that they always have they have the ability to always have the last say. So all of the process has to be and what they look is the process of how somebody was, got into it. And so it is, the steps have got to be airtight.
So here's, just so everybody understands this, because I think this is an important part.
Should I write this down?
Probably. So let's say Joe Smith is being accused of something,
Sure.
and the FEI wants to go after that and say this is something we have to deal with. And so Mr. Smith goes to this hearing. Is that, who's the judge? Is it the FEI? Is it you?
It's not me. No.
Right.
So in the FEI world, because it would have to happen at an international competition.
Correct.
Right. So in the FEI world, they have a tribunal just like most sports organizations do. Right. So,
and those are paid by FEI?
No. They're a committee of about, I think there might be 30 on it, that are lawyers or judges, even though they're in the horse world, but they're lawyers and judges by profession.
Right.
The FEI lawyers, just like we do, the FEI and the USDF, the lawyers put the case together from the federation, and then they go to a panel of usually of 3.
And so they're independent.
So they're independent. They have nothing to do with knowing what the prosecution was or where the reason was, and then they make a determination within the confines of the procedures that we already have. There's guidelines of, just like in
Supreme Court, when they look at the law.
Sure, right. And the Supreme Court for us would be a center of CAS.
Right.
Right. So the appellate courts would be that system, and that's where we're going to go through. And but it is all done on the rule of law, right? You have the right. Joe needs to have a right to say something. I need to have the right to say something because I saw it or whatever. We need to verify the proof.
Right.
Make sure that it's not made up or
Okay.
or doctored.
And I do remember this.
And
I for the record, I do know.
Process.
But I think it's important. We need to know.
I have no problem.
We need to understand.
USCF has the same problem, and all sports organizations do.
So
NBA, you talk about football, they all have that process, internal process within themselves.
Right.
So
okay.
So let's go.
If it is a criminal,
Right.
If it is a criminal thing, then absolutely it steps off into our nationwide criminal court.
Right. Okay.
It always has that ability to step out into that if it's a criminal case.
Right.
Which it should. Okay, so the process, tribunal, it gets notified that something has happened. Then the Joe Smith gets a lawyer, which you would expect
Which
him
slows
to
the
do.
process down by hundreds of folds.
A lot, exactly, anywhere. Do they then pick, is it like a jury where that lawyer and the FEI legal team pick the three that will do the final tribunal, or is it the same
The independent
three?
one's always an athlete in
Okay.
our world,
Okay.
in the USCF. I don't think it's that way in the FEI, but in our world, one of them has to be an athlete.
Okay,
And that's just picked within the hearing. And so they're looking, first thing that everybody looks for is that they don't have a conflict of interest.
sure,
They're not attached to the person at all.
Right.
In any way, shape, or form, which is actually pretty easy since we got 27 different breeds and disciplines. You could have somebody that literally comes from the saddlebred world as a lawyer or judge, and they're the person that's hearing this.
okay. And a lot of people don't know this.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so
No,
good
it's
to talk
and
about.
we've been real. Again, how do you shift culture? One of those things. We've been out on the road this year, at town halls and lots of different places and explaining the system. We're like, all right, this is how it's a 4-step process. Takes a long time. Yes, it could take up to a year. It'll take up to 9 months minimum. Just by the time everybody has their right. As soon as a lawyer gets in, you got motions to, delay and da-da-da-da. So that always slows the process down a lot. But everybody's really trying to get it right and making sure that the penalties are appropriate for whatever the situation is, right?
Sure.
And there are guidelines, just like we have guidelines in our regular law system here in a county or a state. There's guidelines for what that punishment could be. It could be 3 months or it could be 6 years or whatever. I mean, so those guidelines are out there.
And I think that's why it's so important for us to talk about it. And I know John and I made a change in my social media presence probably 2 years ago, maybe. Not to do what people are doing.
Sure.
Not to
Just
do a
jumping on them.
judgment. All I do is promote what we're doing, where we're going, what's happening.
Yeah.
I think it's gotten out of hand, what's happening out there, and I feel I can't even I don't even comment on the comments that are being commented on. So I don't know how we spread or try to induce people not to attack that way.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's really a hard
I think the
thing.
education system is the best way to do it. Be very public about what the process is.
Right.
So everybody understands it. So, we're kind of in the education side of that, trying to want to be very transparent about, how the process works. Not what the final decision is, because I don't think that should be transparent.
Right, for sure.
But
how it was gotten.
But how it was gotten. And just like any selection procedures, I don't know what the final conversation was in the room with the selectors, but I believe in the process of how they
got there.
got that decision. And that's what you have to make sure that you do. And again, go back to the thing of how small of a group this is, right? How small this is, because we have this 838 rule, which is the one goes, outside of competition, et cetera, right? And it's been there for a year and a bit. It hasn't been used,
Right.
right? No, it's not like everybody's knocking down the door here. It hasn't been used, and there are things that have happened, but it's been dealt with through the process.
Sure.
Right. So, it's a very, very, very minority group, and we should be strong with that minority.
Absolutely. I just think we should also be, I don't know if proud is the right word, but satisfied with the fact that there is a process in place, and when this stuff happens, there's a way to deal with it.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that's a good thing in general.
I do
I
too.
think there's arguments for some things go too far. There's arguments for some things don't go far enough. But at least we're trying to deal with it within the sport.
and that's the same thing in the court of law.
Sure.
Why does somebody get this thing? When they manslaughter compared to
Sure.
First degree.
First degree. What's the difference and all that kind of stuff that happens in the court of law all the time. I don't know.
Right.
What those circumstances are, but I accept because you believe in the
system.
So what I do believe in is that I believe that in 2026, our sport is heading in the right direction.
I do too.
I do for a Vinny. I think we have a really good foundation of people that are supporting us, you and John included,
I'm not supporting anyone.
whatever.
I can barely support my kid.
But I think 2026 is leading up to where our sport is going to shine. I think 25 we were shining. I think we're going to be even more shining in 26, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm great. I'm very optimistic for all the sports, because you're looking at all of them. The work that the dressage group is doing themselves, and I've been right in the middle of most of those conversations. They're really looking at themselves and what needs to be adjusted or whatever. And again, the same thing. The core issue is not the core thing about dressage is not the issue. It's the outliers.
Sure.
There's got to be boundaries in any sport. There's got to be boundaries that are set up. Right. Boundaries of the game, how you play the game, and there's boundaries of practices. And I always use the soccer one as my example of the yellow card.
Yep.
Right. You can tackle somebody in soccer.
Can you do that? Can you do that, Andy? Can you tackle?
But you better hit the ball first. Right? You have to hit the ball first. If you hit the guy first,
then it's a yellow card.
Then it's a yellow card. And then if you're angry about it, or if it was done really maliciously, it's a red card, and then you get thrown out. Yeah, right. So it is important that there has to be boundaries to every sport. And those adjust.
Sure.
Think about football. You're a big football fan. You think about
an owner, rules. Really, David.
Those rules that are in football have changed a lot in the last couple of years for safety reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
And those ethical, some of those changes for horses are going to happen too, right?
Do you believe in the no whip rule?
I think it's more about use of the whip.
I agree with you.
I believe, and where it's going to go. I'm a big, I was one of the proponents and started the, only use your whip twice, right? Because you made your point. Because now you talk about anger if you go more than that. The in-between fences is something that is, that's got to be still looked at and looked at stronger, I believe, because, again, probably it's emotional.
Not to interrupt you, could we teach flagging, would flagging be okay?
I don't think so in that type of thing. I think the big thing, is it going to end up at a place where, yes, you can have a whip, but you can't take your hands off the reins. So you're using it as a cluck.
Right.
For especially narrow panels and things like that, where you can use it as a cluck.
That'd get tricky, though, like drop fences if you...
How do you...
Well, sure, but you're not dropping in.
Right.
At the same time.
So it's not using the whip as you drop your hand.
Right. And it's the same thing. You're trying to use your whip. You want to make sure that it's not done in anger and that the horse can
totally
understand
agree.
it. And that's a worldwide conversation in multiple different sports. Racing, does it make a difference? There's people that argue. For safety reasons, the jockeys are talking about at the beginning, can maybe see it, right? But the end of the racing thing,
I
is
agree.
that a thing? I don't know.
Do you need it?
All sports need to talk about that together, not just one.
I think use of whip is a great definition for what it is. And I believe in the use of whip in the proper way. I don't believe in the use of whip in a way in which you think you're going to make the horse do something.
Sure.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think what I believe is we could go on
always
forever, and I think
I want to, but I do. A new one.
I do want to take just a moment.
You just did this.
I just
want
to take
very
a moment.
Trumpish.
Okay. I've got $2,500 left to raise.
Oh.
For
where's your checkbook?
I just paused. I didn't go there yet. So I have $2,500. We have raised almost $500,000.
That's incredible.
It is stunning.
Which is so cool that
it is stunning, and congratulations, because that is.
I have not done it.
Because it's twice.
Yeah, so it's $1 million.
It's stunning.
Yeah, which is amazing for the Manton Foundation to step up twice like they did, and for all of the people that have donated to step up like they did is incredible.
Absolutely.
And we, as of right now, $2,500 is all we need to finish it.
Amazing.
And as amazing as that is, we are going to do our next run, David, on January 12th, 7:30 a.m. at Santos Park. And I just think that the chief of sport could be a part of this.
So you know what Karen got me for Christmas?
What?
She got me one of those electric scooters. Segway.
You could segue.
So I could segue with you.
You could segue with me
for the 10 miles.
Yeah, I don't know if that's allowed on the path we're going on, but I could find out.
Okay. Well, electric bike. I have one of those too.
Okay.
Notice the whole electric thing.
I'm sensing a theme here. But
as long as there are no horses on the course, he can use the bike.
I'm just saying, I've got 2 runs left, and I think in some way, shape, or form, you need to be on one of those.
I will try. What do you do? January 12th and then?
January 12th, I don't have the last one set yet.
Okay.
I got to break them up because also I'm not actually a runner. So I usually am crippled for a few days afterward.
Well, it's pretty stunning what you've done. And and again, we should have a conversation about frangible technology
Yes,
and all that
definitely.
good stuff at some day, but because it's been a game changer for the sport, and people are accepting it now.
That's the big thing is
but
I think this actually was a faster fundraiser because I think
People accept it.
People know
4 or
now.
5 years later, people accept it
Right.
and know what it does.
Right.
So
it's
where
pretty
do we
stunning.
go to raise the money?
So you go to USEAfoundation.org. You're going to see in the top right corner of the screen, there is a little, like those 4 little lines in the box. You click the box, a drop-down tab with all of these like truly awesome grant systems, or grant programs that USEA Foundation has, pops down. For this one, you would click on the Frangible Fence Fund, and then it gives you all kinds of options in there, and you can do it as a member, or you can do it anonymously. It doesn't matter.
Can we have the QR code, Joel?
Probably, or just go to my Instagram or the John and Rick Show's Instagram. It's on there too.
Or Joel, you could do the QR code for us. Thank you.
We'll try to. Then I have to.
But
remember to
I'll,
set it. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think all of those things are great. Like I would even say our our E24 program that we have.
Yep.
Right? That's actually self-funded. We don't use any public money for it. We raise money.
Right. So does
but
that go
we're
through the
not-
foundation
but
as
it's
well?
not- That goes through the foundation at all. So, and I've got a guaranteed audience here this weekend, so I'll raise some money for you.
Perfect.
In that group.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
Because most of the parents come up and watch.
Right.
We'll have like 30, 40 auditors
Perfect.
during most of the week.
Yeah, yeah. No, I know. I had 2 kids that I taught today who are super excited to be in there tomorrow, and the parents are here in
Yeah,
town for
yeah.
it, so it's a big deal.
We'll
very
plug
good.
it for it. But congratulations, because that's it's pretty stunning. And I know it's kind of started a worldwide thought process too about the
Right.
same thing. So
When I've tried
it's really
talking with the guys at FEI about it, and basically, like I talked with Jeff, I
Right.
said, you just need somebody to be an idiot and do something really stupid, like run, make people
100
want to
miles,
see
right.
them be miserable. That's the trick.
yeah. No, I think it's a pretty stunning program you guys have started. And so, but I think it lies within the national federations, really, right?
Yeah,
To get
yeah.
France to do it, to get Germany to do it, to
Yes.
get England to do their own instead of thinking about the FEI is going to do it.
Yep.
But you have shown the example of how it works.
Well, I hope everybody around the world can get it done because
I do too.
it's pretty amazing to see the membership come together like that.
And the differences that it's made. So
This airs January 1st, 2026.
Maybe before.
Thank you. Huh?
Maybe before.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Joel's going to try to get it up quicker.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Happy New Year, everybody. David, thanks for being on as
My pleasure.
usual. It's been great. John, thanks for raising all the money.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, I didn't raise. I just
You raised all the money,
did a
John.
bunch of
You did.
stupid videos.
You did a
so,
good job.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
really good.
Happy New Year. And thank you, everybody. Remember, click like on YouTube. Give us a review on your podcast players. It helps tremendously. Thank you to Horse Trailer Pros. Make sure you go there if you need anything maintained, looked at, your annual maintenance.
And before we leave, #1 podcast, John, right?
#1 eventing
Equestrian,
podcast. For
because
sure.
eventing podcast. Y'all need to advertise on here, so give us a call.
Yeah, we want your money. So let's do that. All right, we'll catch you guys in season 7.
Yeah.
Boom, let's get it.
2026. Happy New Year. We look forward to the 26th. It's gonna be good.
It's gonna be a great year.
We have an awesome show for you guys today.
The greatest eventer of all time.
Good news for the sport.